Gameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our 2013 preview of the Gildon, New Mexico Bowl between the Colorado State Rams and the Washington State Cougars. Now let's take a look at some keys to victory for both teams, starting with the Rams.
Head coach Jim McElwain, in only his second season, has led the Rams back to a bowl game for the first time since 2008. Now, Colorado State has a well-balanced offensive attack led by sensational running back Capri Bibbs, who has rushed for over 1,500 yards and nearly 1,600. Now, defensively, Colorado State in their 3-4 defense can really apply pressure on an offense led by linebacker Shaquille Barrett. He's one of the best players in the country at getting to the quarterback. He has 12 sacks on the season. But in this game versus Washington State, it's imperative for the Rams offense to sustain drives in their defense, especially in the secondary, be able to get off the field and avoiding giving up a big play to that Cougars passing attack. Now let's move over to Washington State in this ball game, and in only his second season as well, head coach Mike Leach has turned around the Cougars' fortunes and has got them back to respectability. This is Washington State's first bowl game in 10 years, and in true Leach fashion, they toss it around the field early and often. Quarterback Connor Holiday has thrown for over 4,100 yards and 28 touchdowns, and versus Colorado State, being able to spread the field with those 4 wide receiver sets will be key in neutralizing that pressure that they bring coming off the edge. Free safety Deion Buchanan is one of the best defensive backs in the country, was a second-team Walter Camp All-American, and what is quite honestly a very talented secondary. But in this game, the focus first and foremost is stopping the ground game of the Rams. If they want to be successful, they have to put these guys in obvious passing situations. The X factor for Colorado State will be their secondary. You look at what the Cougars do well. They spread you out and they force you to cover every blade of grass. And when you go into a spread formation, it puts a lot of pressure on your safeties because you're only able to play a certain amount of coverages. So when you look at their free safety, Trent Matthews, who's very talented, and their strong safety, Kevin Pierre-Louis, they may have to be isolated one-on-one with receivers, maybe even a back or even a tight end. So they're going to have to win those individual battles in order to have success defensively. And the X factor for the Cougars will be that run defense. We've talked about this earlier. Stopping the run is going to be key in stopping what Colorado State wants to do offensively. So far this season, the Cougars have given up over 180 yards on the ground at 4.4 yards a carry. That's not going to get it done versus the Rams. Now here are some coaching points for both teams in this ball game. For Colorado State, the interior offensive line must win consistently, and the biggest battle, quite honestly, up front will be between their All-American center Weston Richburg going against nose tackle Ayon Guata of Washington State. That's a battle that Richburg has to win throughout the course of this ball game, and they also have to stay ahead of the chains. It's very important to win early in the down and distance. They don't want to get into a passing game with Washington State because they will lose that battle each and every time, and they have to show multiple looks in coverage on defense. Try to influence bad decisions with various zone blitzes and combo coverages going against Connor Holiday throwing the football. And for Washington State in this ball game, quarterback Connor Holiday has to protect the football. 21 interceptions is unacceptable, and he has to make better decisions and not force throws this week versus Colorado State. And they have to take away the Rams' excellent tight ends. That's a big part of what Colorado State's passing game is all about. They love to utilize double tight end sets, and they do give up a lot of size on the edges, so those linebackers and safeties will have to make plays consistently versus those 2 tight ends. And starting fast and staying fast is going to be key. Washington State wants to make this a track meet, and if they're able to get an early lead versus Colorado State, is going to put that offense in a bind. They want to play with the lead. They want to play with that running game. They don't want to play in catch-up mode. That's why I think the first quarter will be huge for the Cougars. Now here are some draft prospects you want to keep an eye on in this ball game. For Colorado State, very talented ball club, especially in the trenches. You look at Weston Richburg, one of the best centers in the country. Keep an eye on him. And linebacker Shaquille Barrett is also one of the best edge rushers at 6'2", 250. Definitely a guy you can see in a 3-4 defense at the next level. Crockett Gilmore, one of the best tight ends, 6'6", 255, a guy that does a great job in blocking and also as a receiver. An underrated nose tackle, Calvin Tonga at 6'3", 330. Excellent nose tackle that you want in your 3-4 defense. And for Washington State, I mentioned how well their secondary is because of these 2 players right here. Deion Buchanan, like I mentioned before, an All-American, one of the best free safeties, great range from sideline to sideline, 5 interceptions on the season. And DeMonte Horton, another excellent corner, 5'10", 180, maybe better suited to play in the slot at the next level, also has 5 interceptions on the season. Both guys definitely have the ball skills that you want on the back end. The 2008 New Mexico Bowl was a fantastic game between Colorado State and Fresno State, and this game featured two outstanding tailbacks in Colorado State's Gartrell Johnson and Fresno State's Lanye Miller. Now trailing 28-20 entering the fourth quarter, the Rams scored 20 straight points led by Gartrell Johnson's 77-yard burst to knock off Fresno State 40-35. The 1990 Freedom Bowl between Colorado State and Oregon was the Rams' first bowl appearance since 1949. Head coach Earl Bruce led them to a 9-4 record and a second-place WAC finish. And in true WAC Pac-10 battles at the time, it was a high-scoring game, with the Rams getting a defensive stop on the two-point conversion late to win 32-31. Arguably the best team in Washington State history was the 97 squad led by talented quarterback Ryan Leaf and a Fab Five at wide receiver, and this was the Cougars' first Rose Bowl appearance in 67 years, and they entered this ballgame with a 10-1 record, ranked number 8 in the country, and they got off to a red-hot start with Ryan Leaf finding Kevin McKenzie in the end zone to take an early 7-0 lead, but spectacular defensive play throughout the course of the game, led by Heisman Trophy winning cornerback Charles Woodson, was able to hold off the Cougars for a 21-16 victory. Safety Jack Christensen was an outstanding player for the Colorado State Rams from 1948 to 1950. He was a three-sport athlete at Colorado State: football, track, baseball, a two-time All-Skyline Conference performer, and also showed that great range that made him a Pro Football Hall of Famer with the Detroit Lions. Ruben Mays is definitely a campus legend, was a consensus All-American at Washington State, and still owns the Cougars' single-season rushing record with 1,632 yards and career rushing record with 3,519 yards. And as a senior, he finished 10th in the Heisman Trophy, and his best day came as a junior for the Cougars, rushing for 357 yards on 39 carries and 3 touchdowns versus a very tough Oregon defense. I like Colorado State in this ball game. When you look at what the Rams do well, they can run the football, they utilize 2 tight ends, and that right there is going to put them in a lot of favorable situations. So I think they'll be able to own the TOP, and on defense, their ability to get pressure on the quarterback led by Shaquille Barrett will do enough to derail what Washington State wants to do throwing the football. So I like Colorado State to win the 2013 Gildon New Mexico Bowl.